All right, hello there, everybody. Let me switch scenes here, and that should work there. All right, how are you guys doing today? Looks like everything is good, working, oh, and I forgot to turn my volume down on my Twitch chat monitor there. Or well, my backup, just in case. Um, all right. So, last time we had a great stream where we were going through, um, or we were starting to work on some of our duelist archetypes that I had sketched out during the bit of a break from streaming that I took due to just sheer work schedule there. Then we had also, towards the end there, talked about one of the new conditions that I basically had to invent for this game in order to, one, play into some of the different fantasies of the duelist archetypes that we were working on, but also because I felt that it was necessary for the continued development and evolution of the game. And that would be the obscured condition. One of the areas that my game, Underkeeper, has kind of been lacking a bit as far as in development has been ways to properly distinguish lit, unlit areas, ways to handle cover, line of sight, and that sort of thing. And while Underkeeper does draw a lot from 5th edition Dungeons and Dragons, it also draws a lot from games like Draw Steel and Pathfinder and those sort of other tabletop RPG experiences. And so, what I was trying to do here with the obscured condition is to codify a lot of the rules for cover, a lot of the rules for light, a lot of the rules for vision into a condition that can then just be scaled up and down based on how based kind of on the whims of the game master and at the set of the table. So if you want to have an encounter take place at night, it's rather easy. You can just drop the obscured 2 condition over everything. And so it's kind of this dusky environment that is going to impede on your ability to search for opponents. And it's going to give bonuses to creatures in that area on their stealth. That sort of thing. And so that is the goal for today, to finish codifying the text of the obscured condition, and then to continue working on duelist subclasses that are going to be making a bit more use of it by increasing obscurity in different areas or decreasing it based on some of their different attributes and characteristics. Then we'll probably also be jumping back towards our look into vision, and so that would be, true sight, dark vision, low light vision, that sort of thing, and working with that to further tie those pieces to actual game mechanics, and so that they can simply work in opposition to the obscured condition, since that is reflective of cover and darkness. So where we are right now is I've got my kind of intermediary drafting pages open there. So let's go ahead and just jump straight on over to our core textbook, core rulebook text here. Let it load for a second because Google's just like that sometimes. All right, so conditions here. We did a little bit of formatting here last time, but let's go ahead and jump down to where O would be. EQR. So went a little bit too far there. All right, so bit of a jump alphabetically from invisible to paralyzed, but it is what it is. So the obscured condition is a bit different from your kind of standard condition in this game. Conditions in Underkeeper are primarily that they are just directly applied to a creature, and then the benefit then the condition is either a beneficial condition that just remains for its duration, or it is a detrimental condition that will either remain for its duration or be resisted at the start or end of turn, depending on a creature's resistances. Whereas the obscured condition is going to be applied to a general area, and then all creatures within that area are going to receive the benefits of that condition. So just as a bit of a heads up, there's going to be a bit more of kind of technical explanation as far as what we're going to be writing into here, just because of that slight distinction. So obscured. And I was doing a little bit of this drafting the other day, so let's just kind of start with that and go with it, see what happens from there. When a creature is hidden by terrain elements, whether partially or fully, cloaked in the shadows of night, they are obscured. Creatures and areas that are obscured are more difficult to perceive. Oh no, why did you open that? I didn't mean to. Ugh. More difficult to perceive and to target with spells and attacks. Actually, I had written it the other way around. I'm going to keep it that way. With attacks and spells. So unfortunately, O is key bound to several things here. So if I accidentally hit Control instead of Shift, or Control I or something like that, I'm assuming that I'm going to have a couple pop-ups here just because O is a common binding. I'm going to try and reduce it, of course, but alas. The obscured condition behaves slightly differently to other conditions. In that instead of being directly applied to a creature, the condition is applied to an area, and all creatures within the area gain the condition's effects, as we were saying earlier. The condition is applied to an area and creatures within the area gain the condition's effects. Oh, there we go. All right. Areas obscured are measured in 5 levels. Each level further reducing visibility in the area. Some examples of obscured areas at each level are noted below. When using the obscured condition as a reflection, well, that's not how you spell that word, of a creature's cover, of a creature's ability to hide behind obstacles. It is a GM's, the game master's final discretion regarding when a creature's line of sight is broken. All right. So from here we get our first table. Unfortunately, this is a condition that does have 2 tables, one for examples and then one for actual effects. So I believe I have draft. Some of these should be like, yeah, this table will be fine. Okay, jump back into, that's the classes text. Yep. All right, so obscurity works in 5 levels. So this is going to be similar, if you're familiar with 5e, to a condition like exhaustion. However, the obscured condition does not get worse as it, well, I mean, it does, but it doesn't compound. So if you are in an area that is obscured 3, you're only getting the benefits and detriments associated with the obscured 3 condition. You are not getting the benefits of 3, 2, and 1, similar to exhaustion, or in my game, fatigue. Okay, there we go. And then we can bring our examples only over to at least like 1.25. That should be fine. Roughly. Oop. Guess it wasn't. Alright, 1.5 then. Alright, so security level 1 here is a light fog or haze. Dim light or other lighting that mildly impedes a creature's sight. When a creature is roughly 1/3 covered or blocked by terrain features. So this is your roughly lightly hidden. Your what, quarter cover, basically. 1/3 cover. Alright, so obscurity level 2 here is darkness reflecting dusk or dawn on a typical night. Let's change that or to an and there. Or otherwise, nighttime under a full moon. So it's just going to be a bit brighter than, a full dark night. A thick fog or situation in which roughly 2/3 of a creature is hidden. All right, so that would be position 2 here. So position 3, this is going to be our typical nighttime condition. When a creature is nearly completely hidden by environment. All right, so number 4 here. Number 4 is the highest level of natural darkness here. Total darkness. A light level similar to an unlit cave deep underground. Creatures are fully hidden in this area. All right, and then finally, since like if you've ever gone to, like little cave tours or something in, like I'm specifically thinking of Indian caverns in Columbus, Ohio, where they have a tour to some caverns that are underneath that are deep underground, and so you go in there, and then midway through the tour they pause in a room there, and they're like, okay, we want everyone to shut off their lights here just so you can experience true total darkness. That's kind of what this is here, where all of a sudden you know that your eyes are open, but everything was it I think it might have been Olentangy Caverns. There's a couple different cave areas in that area of Ohio, but nonetheless, that's my memory there. But you know your eyes are open, and then all of a sudden, like they aren't picking up anything. So your pupils, dilate, trying to claim light from everywhere, but you're just not seeing anything. And so the best way to navigate around is to like feel the wall, and so you can make your way around with other senses. You start focusing on what you can hear. Just it is a very surreal and kind of horrifying experience to just all of a sudden have one of your senses just completely become null and void. It's it's a cool experience. And so if you're ever in like Columbus, Ohio, or areas that have caves and caverns and they do something like this, one, do it. It's fun to, go wander through caves and such. But also, that's what I'm talking about with Obscurity 4 here. It is total darkness. It is pitch black. And then so finally, 5 is going to be an expansion on 4 here, where 4 is the highest and level that you can reach naturally. 5 is supernatural darkness. The obscurity of this level is akin to the previous level's darkness. So, for one, you're not going to get more dark than total dark. Like, there isn't like a Vanta blackness for darkness. But the obscurity of supernatural darkness is fundamentally the same as obscurity level 4. However, the reason that this is its own tier is that it is harder to invoke, repel, reduce. So let's say a creature with True Sight. True Sight would reduce the obscurity level by, I believe it is 3. So if you're in an area that is obscurity level 4, you are experiencing the benefits and detriments of obscurity level 1. True Sight is something that would mostly negate all of obscurity here. However, in supernatural darkness, you can reduce it up to obscurity level 2. So it is still kind of pushing and back on the full limitations of true seeing. And so it is harder to reduce it just because it is a magical effect on top of the natural. Hence, is akin to the previous level of darkness, but enhanced through arcane means. To be more difficult to penetrate and dispel. Or dispel. Alright, there we go. Cool. So that is just kind of our examples as far as what obscurity is going to be doing for us there. What we go into next here is, how does this happen? Areas can become obscured naturally up to a maximum of 4th level. Abilities that increase or decrease an area's obscurity will specifically note whether or not they can reduce or inflict supernatural darkness. So, a typical kind of duelist thing would be, melding into shadows or having shadows melt out from around you when you after a teleportation. Like, I think that is a kind of very simple thing that we're going to have implemented into the Black Ash Duelist. But that's not going to necessarily deal with magical darkness. It just is, hey, your obscurity level around you increases by 1 until the start of your next turn. So that just means the area around you is darker. And so that would go up to a maximum of 4 because it is not an inherently supernatural effect. I mean, it's a teleport, it's magical, but it's not going to, impose some sort of extraplanar conditions on here. Like, I can absolutely imagine that a devil or a demon lord who has like the darkness spell would be able to cast a large cloud of supernatural darkness around the entire battlefield and thus shut down most of their opponent's abilities to see. Thankfully, we do have things like infravision and tremor sense that can get around some of it, but without, you know, true seeing, you're really not going to be able to get around supernatural darkness. And so we don't want it to accidentally be something that is triggered every time we just do a slight bump to obscurity for a short bit of time. Areas obscurity will specifically note whether or not they can reduce or inflict supernatural. Okay, so this is the area that we get to where I was talking about earlier, where this is, while it is leveled like a condition such as fatigue in 5th edition or fatigue in my game, it is not a cumulatively accrued ability. So, of the condition are not accrued, cumulative. Oh, no, sorry. Yeah, no, I was right. Accrued cumulatively. Creatures own may gain the effects their current level of security. Of obscurity. Area. They gain the following effects. All right. Okay. So this is where we get into the actual writing of the effects of the condition. So we're going to actually just straight up copy this table. Because it is mostly going to work the same as far as presentation. Just instead of examples, we are going to have effects. All right, so at our first level of obscurity here, I'll set those center for right now. I probably will change that later. Okay, so creatures in this area have advantage on all stealth, dexterity, ability challenges. So nice and simple, straightforward there. So obscurity level 1 is only a benefit here for, sneaking around. Obscurity level 2, however, is where we start getting things to compound. In this area, actually, we can just copy the entire clause here because that is not changing. However, we are going to be building onto it. That and have disadvantage on all ability challenges made while taking the search action. So this is just going to be disadvantaged typically on a perception challenge. It is just you have trouble finding stuff. Obscurity level 3, so this is going to be a standard night. Advantage tier 2 on all stealth dexterity, and disadvantage tier 2. So once again, we are seeing that kind of ramp where this is not a cumulative thing, but it is increasing with each step. And each step does technically include the previous one. It's just the conditions are getting worse. And so for number 4 here, creatures are going to be blinded. Creatures in this area are blinded. So blinded here, the blinded condition. Hey, O-Pigs, happy to have you here. So the blinded condition represents a state in which a creature is unable to see or perceive their surroundings visually. A blinded creature can't see and has disadvantage tier. Oop, that's old design there. Tier 2 on any ability challenges that require sight. Hang on. We need to fix this because blinded condition disadvantage tier 2 on any challenge that requires sight. And cannot make an ability challenge. No, hang on. And all ability challenges that require sight are reduced to and the result of all ability challenges are reduced to their tier 1 result. And we can get rid of this attack rolls have a disadvantage line here. Is that usually would require sight or the ability to perceive a creature. Okay, so there we go. Blinded, fixed there. So we are saying that creatures are blinded, and then we are going to say when looking into an area of obscurity 4, all creatures within the area are considered invisible to creatures outside. So basically just straight up you can't see anything. Where were we? There we go. Creatures in this area are blinded. Blinded and are considered invisible to creatures outside the obscured area. All right. And so then we put that same thing in number 5 here. Hang on, let me make sure with my notes here if there's about what else I have to add to. Nope, that is that. All right, so we've got the basics there. So these are the effects of obscured. What we also do want to make a note of here is that I was calling for a sidebar right above here. So right here. So this is what, heading number 4. So we'll have that at heading number 5. Sidebar, resistance, immunity to the obscured condition. Okay, so the short of this is creatures can't be resistant to it. However, immunity to the obscured condition is going to be a factor. So this is going to be an ability that is probably common among Celestials in that they can always be perceived regardless of obscurity level. So a creature who would be resistant to obscurity can see in all of the obscurity levels and can be perceived by others throughout all obscurity levels. Where did I made some note here. Okay, so creatures cannot be resistant to the obscured condition. Conditional resistance is determined by rolling a resistance roll at the start of a creature's turn. And what? So, because the only way to reduce obscurity on a character or on an area is to move out of the area. So we actually just don't need that because that's just a re-explanation of the rules that are established at the start of this section here. In order to reduce the level of obscurity on the creature, they need to move outside of the area obscurity. Creatures that are immune to the obscured condition can perceive other creatures in obscured areas without hindrance Um, and can be perceived by all creatures within and outside of the obscured area. So yeah, this is going to be something that is common with Celestials. And the best way I can describe this in my mind is if you think of like Minecraft and the glowing condition. So even if you don't directly have line of sight to it, to the creature, maybe they are fully obscured by different blocks or walls or anything, you can see like an outline of them. You can see where they are. And that is how Celestials work. So you can have this angel coming down from the heavens into this area of supernatural darkness, and you see this sort of white silhouetted effect passing through the supernatural darkness no matter where you are. So you can always track where that angel is in the area. And they, being able to see through all obscured conditions and areas, always know where you are there. And so, once again, that leads to this sort of dichotomy of devils inflicting supernatural darkness and celestials repelling it. And then mortal characters who have to kind of deal with that and enhance themselves through supernatural means in order to compete on similar levels. Immunity to the obscured condition is common among Celestials. Alright, so there we go. We have got our sidebar there. We've got our information on the condition and its effects. So, I believe that means we can jump back to working on subclasses and archetypes, and then we can also work on codifying the language of vision within this game. I'm going to go on pause for just one quick second here to go grab a drink. Then I will be right back in probably under a minute. So give me just one quick second here. Take a drink yourselves, and see you in a sec. All right. Let's go ahead and jump right back into things here. Where last we left off working on Duelist Archetypes, we had written up here the Mark of the Long Shadow. This is our kind of classical thief archetype, where you are supposed to be playing this sort of harasser character, getting in and out of combat scenarios, and then getting additional bonuses based on how high a momentum value you can build with your calling card condition. And one thing after we had ended the stream the other day that I realized was we forgot to add in, excuse me, the Mark's special cunning moves. I believe it is was called a feature. So let's go ahead and get that edited in here. So, oh my gosh, hiccups. There we go. Hopefully that should help. Let's go ahead and jump over to our classes here. Duelist is rather early on here, so Mark of the Long Shadows. Okay. I've got 10 comments here. That should probably be calling out several of these. Weird. Okay, let's go ahead and just kind of put in the ability here. Mark of Long Shadows, Cunning Strike. And then we just kind of copy the basic information here. So where did it go? Did it get pushed down there? No. That's super weird. Oh, here we go. Mark of Long Shadows, Cunning Strikes. There we go. So we did write it up, we just didn't copy and paste it. Heading 5, that is also heading 5. Alright, so you get the disarm one. There we go. So there are our level 2. Hang on, let me get that over on the left-hand side so my camera is not blocking. Sorry, I'm still getting used to organizing things on stream here so that my camera doesn't block things, because I can't see it on my main desktop here, just kind of in my preview window over on this side there. Okay. Cover all contingencies. This is similar to Hesitation is Weakness from Draw Steal. So when one of your allies ends your turn, you reduce your momentum value by 1 and can immediately take your turn following your ally. When you reduce your momentum value in this manner, you either reduce the momentum value of a calling card on your character by 1, or reduce the value of a calling card on the nearest affected creature by 1. Mark of Long Shadows, that is disarm, as we just were talking about. Then Walk Between Shadows here. As a minor action, while you are in an area that has at least 2 levels of the obscured condition, so Twilight, Dusk, Heavier Fog. You can teleport up to a number of feet equal to your base movement speed to an unoccupied space of your choice that also has at least 2 levels of the obscured condition. To teleport to an area, you must be able to perceive that the area is also obscured. That clause is just to get around teleporting through walls. Colossal Capers. Not sold on the name so far yet, but nonetheless, this is kind of the core ability of this archetype. So when you steal or plant a calling card condition with a high momentum value, you gain a number of bonuses reflecting the current value of the condition. When you perform one of these actions, choose a number of effects from the list below, corresponding to the calling card's current value. That's a lot of C's. So, momentum value of 10, 15, or 20, you get 1, 2, or 3 effects, respectively. Those effects can be Regain Stamina. When you manipulate a high momentum calling card and perform this effect while you have at least 5 temporary hit points, you take 5 points of damage. This damage cannot be reduced, and recover 1 of your expended hit dice. So this is just reducing your current temporary hit point value by 5. Why don't we just say that? Your current number temporary points by 5 and recover 1 of your expended hit dice. And so this is rather useful because while the calling card condition is on a duelist, they are generating temporary hit points at the start of each turn as a bit of a buffer. So you can work to switch this condition back to a target opponent, and then all of a sudden you swap some of your temporary hit points for more healing long term. So you are basically turning yourself into a hit die generating engine here. Then our next one here is Swipe and Slash. When you manipulate a high momentum calling card and perform this effect, you deal an additional 1d4 slashing damage to the creature you either steal the condition from or plant the condition on. When you reach 8th level, that damage increases based on the card's momentum. D8, D10, D12, it's just a step die increase. I forgot to mention, when you reach 8th level for the previous one with regaining stamina, you get up to 2 expended hit dice when you exchange 5 temporary hit points. So once again, just allows you to ramp and recover those hit dice faster. Finally, the last effect there is Touch and Go. When you manipulate a high momentum calling card and perform this effect, you can immediately shift up to 10 feet to an unoccupied space of your choice that you can perceive. And then at 8th level, this increases to your hindered movement speed, since that has a minimum of a 10-foot range there. Otherwise, it would be half your movement speed. So if you have a movement speed of 30 feet, that would immediately be a 5-foot increase to this ability. Also at 5th level, you get Servant of the Shadows. You have advantage on ability challenges when you take the hide action. We don't need tier 1 since it is just implied. And then finally at 8th level, you get All According to Plan. When you roll a tier 4 result on a Duelist special attack and your momentum value is increased to 20. When you roll a tier 4 result on a Duelist special attack, your momentum value is increased to 20 if it is not already 20. Additionally, your momentum value cannot be reduced by any means except performing or heightening a Duelist special attack. So what this is doing is this is ramping your calling card to the maximum applicable value for this archetype. So while it's at 20, you are going to be getting the strongest feature for your swipe and slash. You're going to be getting 3 effects of your choice every time that that card changes hands. It is also going to get you the standard bonuses to damage and temporary hit points depending on where it starts its turn. So this is just a very quick ramp if you use a duelist special attack, and then you can't reduce it by having creatures attack you. It makes your damage output rather consistent. It makes your healing rather consistent as well. And so that is going to be the Mark of Long Shadows. Is it Mark of the or Mark of just Long? Let's go ahead and take it. Because I want to be consistent. I want it to sound cool. Okay, just Mark of Long Shadows. Okay. No the. So let's just go ahead and get rid of the. Sorry for the slightly boring content there, as I'm just doing a bit of text editing here. All right, so there we go. We've got everything there. Let's just go ahead and copy and plug this right on into our core texts. Boom, there we go. Now we do have a comment here with the kind of colossal capers. Question of, can we get a better name? So let's go ahead and transfer that over as well. And then we can resolve that over on our drafting tab and mark it as good. All right, so the next archetype that we want to be working on here is going to be, let's go with Mark of the Black, or Mark of Black. All right. Here, let me jump to be a bit bigger on screen here. Boom, there we go. So this one here is rather busy and detailed in my notes. And yeah, you can see a lot of the previous drafts have obscured there. But yeah, that's kind of what I'm working with here. So if I start kind of twisting my notebook around every which way, bear with me for a sec. There. So I'm gonna need to go back to our interstitial drafting tab here. Let's go ahead and create a new subtab here called Mark Black Duelist. There we go. go ahead and just... So let's go ahead and just copy this all over there as well. It's not like it's going to scale or be useful as anything other than a guide and a template, but a guide and a template is a good thing to start with. All right. Okay, so okay, so this is going to be the first ability here, and that is just going to be giving you some smoke bombs. And this is just a small thing that this subclass can do. Whenever your movement, speed, would be reduced to your hindered movement speed. When you take the move action, you can instead reduce your momentum value by 1. Let's go ahead and snag that Long Shadows text here because it'll be useful. You can instead reduce your momentum value by 1 and use your full movement speed instead. When you reduce your momentum value in this manner, you either reduce the momentum value of a calling card on your character by 1 or reduce the value of a calling card on the nearest affected creature by 1. So once again, just reflecting where the condition is on a target at the time. The space that you vacate. Hang on. Begin the move action on has its obscurity is obscured level 1 or has its obscurity value increased by 1 to a maximum of 4 until the start of your next turn. So this is literally, oh hey, you're going to slow me down here, you're going to hinder me. No, puff of smoke runs away. And then that puff of smoke will last until the start of your next turn. So here, let's go ahead and read through the ability again, just making sure that we have everything covered. Whenever your movement speed would be reduced to your hindered movement speed, whenever you take, we don't need the ever, when you take the move action and would use your hindered, actually that doesn't need to be italicized, instead of your base movement speed, you can reduce your okay, so when you take the move action and use your hindered movement speed instead of your base movement speed, no, it would be and would use. You can reduce your momentum value by 1 and use your full movement speed instead. That the space that you begin the move action on is obscured at level 1 or has its obscurity value increased by 1 to a maximum of 4 until the start of your next turn. There we go. When you reduce your momentum value in this manner, you either reduce the momentum value of a calling card on your character by 1, reduce the value of a calling card on the nearest affected creature by 1. Alright, so there we go. There is our smoke bombs. And that is our first ability there. So let's go ahead, jump over and snag our where were you? Yeah, there we go. Snag our cunning strike here for Mark of Black Ash. Put it in the right spot here for alphabetization. There we go. So as a duelist with the Mark of Black Ash, you learn the following Cunning Strike's effect and can perform the maneuver as a part of an attack against an opponent with the calling card condition. And that is open. As a part of this attack, you expend 1d6 of your additional momentum damage to take the tag team action and create an opening for one of your allies to act. When you expend 2d6 of your additional damage pool to create an opening, the tag team action does not become unavailable to you until you complete a short rest. There we go. So there we go. We've got that archetype all started up here. So our next ability here is, once again, very integral to this subclass's identity. And that is going to be sparking up the black fire. Okay, so Blackfire is a new sort of type of fire that is exclusively available to this subclass. It is a dark flame that does not shed light and it does not give off heat. However, it inflicts fire damage. Similarly, it grants its wielder the ability to penetrate into areas of darkness. So let's go ahead, and it's going to take a second to kind of get this all figured out here. When you are sealed with the mark Black Ash, you are treated to the processes and sorceries used to conjure the black flames. Okay, so let's see here. There are going to be kind of two parts to this, where one, you get an action that allows you to conjure a mote of black fire, and then you have an ability. Then you'll also have an action that allows you to conjure a weapon made out of black fire. Once again, I said I was going to kind of look like an idiot having to turn my notebook every which way in that way, because I wrote in every which way it about this ability. Okay, you can perform the following special actions: summon Blackfire and conjure Blackfire weapon. So, let's go ahead and grab some actions. So let's go ahead over to our core rulebook 1 here. To our actions tab. And we just want something that is a kind of standard effect-based action. Disengage will work wonderfully. All right, so this is going to be a. How did we format this for some of the other archetypes that have special actions? Oath of Blackened Heart here. There's just archetype in bold and special action. Here. Give me one quick second. I'm going to just kind of step up, take a quick bathroom break, and I'll be right back in about a minute or so. Hopefully. All right. Legs are stretched. Bathroom has been taken. Let's go ahead and get back into everything here. All right. So, where we were? Where were we? We were writing up Mark of Black Ash actions here. So, Spark the Black Fire. That is going to be one of the core abilities for this archetype here. So, the first one is going to be a simple kind of conjure flame style ability. Let me go ahead and just kind of pull up some notes on some other tabs here. So, our first one here is going to be called Summon Blackfire. I don't know. Should there be a space here, or should it just be the kind of one word? I'm not sure. Then we have Conjure Blackfire Weapon. So let's go ahead and okay. At will, major action, yes. Implement none needed. How do we handle duration? Target, self, range, self. A spark Blackfire appears in your hand. The flame remains there for what? Okay, so right now I'm looking at the 5e cantrip Produce Flame as a sort of baseline for this ability. So it's just creating a spark of fire that does not harm its summoner and that does not emit light. For the duration, so hang on. For up to 10 minutes or until you dismiss it, no action required. Hang on 1 second. There we go. All right. Where were we? Right. Till you dismiss it, no action required. The flame does not give off light, so it does not do that. Okay, so while you are holding this spark of Blackfire, you have dark vision. Yes. While holding a Blackfire weapon, you can see through obscured terrain. It gives dark vision. You have dark vision at a range of 60 feet. There we go. dark vision at a range of 60. Add a space after this paragraph here. You may also attack with this flame, although doing so ends the effect. To attack with this. Going to our melee basic attacks here. Not melee, our ranged. Okay. You make a ranged basic attack. Against a creature who is what? No further than 30 feet away from you. A range of 30 feet. To 30 feet. The spark of Blackfire deals 1d8. As a it's considered weapon that a W value of 1d8 and no flourishes. Okay, so attack attribute would be agility. Defense is reflex. The implement here is going to be the Spark of Black Fire, range of 30 feet. So you roll your attack. And then it is either 1, 2, 2, or 3 W's plus your agility damage. And you don't get any flourishes here. Actually, hang on. We are going to have some flourishes because we can conjure weapons out of this. Following flourish. Okay. So let's go ahead and look to. I think this is going to be an older document here, but let's go ahead and take a look at some of our previous weapon flourishes. Okay, these are spells. Waiting for it to bring up my menu here on the side here. Armor and weapons. There we go. Let's see here. Do we have something that inflicts daze? Yes, falter. Your attack inflicts the target with the daze condition until the end of their next turn. Alright, Dazing Spark. With the dazed condition until the end of their next turn. And then, of course, Wound would be the other traditional kind of one, but let's go ahead and do a little bit of gatekeeping there, and Wound will not be applicable to... Oh, no. No, Wound is always a thing. There we go. Okay. So, the Spark of Blackfire is considered a weapon with a W value of 1d8 and the following flourishes: Dazing Spark, inflicting with the dazed condition until the end of their next turn, and Wound. Okay. Can we get rid of this space here? No. Alright. This feels a little bit messy, but I think we can make it work. Okay. So, Conjure Blackfire. A spark of Blackfire appears in your hand, and you shape it into what? An echo of a weapon that you are familiar with. What weapons is the Duelist proficient? It might just be all of them, but let's just double check. Okay, so it's simple weapons and martial weapons with just 2 properties. Okay. The flame there remains there. Okay. Echo of a melee, for one, weapon that you are familiar with. Flame remains there for up to sorry, it's been a second since I have worked with weapons, so I am just kind of being extra careful here to make sure I'm not, overthinking or underthinking something. All right. The weapon remains in your hand for up to 10 minutes or until you dismiss it, no action required. While you are holding this weapon, this conjured weapon, you have dark vision at a range of 60 feet. There we go. So let's go ahead and copy a simple melee weapon here that you would probably use. A dagger. Oh gosh. I want to capture everything around it. So I'm debating whether or not we create a new weapon for here and then give it a property of like Blackfire Simulacra. Or what? The weapon that you conjure has the same properties, flourishes, as its material counterpart, except that it deals, that it has a damage die. That's the phrasing here. And is considered a weapon with a damage die of 1d8 in the following form. That's a damage die. Fire damage. Sorry, this is... I haven't worked with weapons, so this is a bit older design. It is mostly standing up and kind of what I intend weapons to look like, but I'm just trying to make sure that this conjuration is logical. It's damage die. It's 1d8 and deals fire damage. A ranged weapon attack. Considered a weapon with a damage die of 1d8 and deals fire damage. 8 deals fire damage. The Blackfire Spark has the following flourishes. There we go. Okay. So your counterpart, except that its damage die is 1d8 and deals fire damage. Additionally, the Blackfire weapon gains the following flourish. And then we're going to actually make this a minor action to conjure the weapon here. So what else am I missing here from my... So phase weapons into and out of Blackfire. Question on the into part. Created weapons deal fire damage and dissipate after 10 minutes unless sustained. Copy. If you conjure a weapon that you are proficient in, it counts as a trained weapon for you. I'm gonna say no to that. Here, while you have 10 momentums, or the nearest calling card to you has 10 momentum, they increase their melee range by 5 feet. I do like that ability. However, I think we're going to tag that into a future sort of thing with a with probably like a 5th level thing here. Why must this one be difficult? um. Okay, I think that this is good. Um. Blackfire is a type of magical fire that does not emit light and how did I phrase that before here? How did I phrase that here? A type of magical fire that does not emit light. And what? I mean, I know it doesn't injure the creature holding it. Does not burn itself. That does not emit light and cannot burn its summoner. Is a type of magical cultivator that is cultivated by a order of what? Rogue sorcerers, duelists, and sorcerers. Does not emit light, it cannot burn its summon. Cultivated means it's like grown, and so like this isn't grown, it is harnessed by an order of rogue duelists and rogue actors. Cannot burn its summoner. It is frequently harnessed as a tool of what? As a tool of what? Skullduggery, as a tool of we don't. Magical fire. Does not emit light and cannot burn its summon. Those who and initiated into a duelist or a roguish order that utilizes Blackfire in their operations, often given tricks and tips are tips to use its to dispel darkness around them. No. Tricks to absorb darkness around them into absorb the darkness around them into their conjured blazes, sparks, motes of fire. Okay. There we go. So we've got two special actions here. Summon, which lets us use it as a ranged weapon, and also just to have a spark of fire that absorbs the obscured condition. And then one to have it as an actual weapon. While you are wielding a weapon forged from Blackfire, you can change its weapon type at the start of your turn. No action required. You can change its form and weapon type at the start of your turn to another weapon that you are familiar with. There we go. Okay. Can we hang on a second? Because I'm imagining a very cool interaction here where you show up and your boss has this, like the boss monster of the dungeon has this incredibly badass sword or scythe or something like that. I think it would be really fun to be like, oh, you can do that? create a duplicate of that same weapon out of this fire. And so like that would be very cool. We're into an echo of a non-magical, no, not non-magical, of an unenchanted magical melee item. If you wish to conjure a enchanted weapon out of Blackfire, you mark expend 1 point of willpower when you perform this action. One point of willpower when you perform this action. There we go. So that's just going to kind of move you along a little bit faster there. If you wish to conjure an enchanted weapon out of Blackfire, you must expend 1 point of willpower when you perform this action. The weapon remains in your hand for up to 10 minutes or until you dismiss it. No action. The weapon that you conjure has the same properties and flourishes as its material counterpart, except that its damage die is 1d8 and deals fire damage. And it gains the following flourish here. So this means that you absolutely could walk into your boss's, like your boss chamber, your final battle here. Strahd pulls out a Holy Avenger, and then your duelist, if you are proficient in Holy Avengers or like you are familiar with it, you could conjure a Holy Avenger out of Blackfire and, you know, attack them with their own sword, fundamentally, or with an echo of their whole sword, of their own sword, and it just costs basically 1 death saving throw. I think that's sick. That is a sick as hell little twist there. Okay. So let's continue to twist the pages around here. Build and see through obscure terrain. Yep, got that. Dark flame that emits no light and does not burn its summoner. Yup. Has a flourish to daze. Yes, got that. Conjure Blackfire, like the produce flame cantrip here. Let's just call it this way. Conjure Blackfire and what, manifest? Let's go ahead and pull up a thesaurus here. Just for conjure. cast spell. To exercise, to invoke. Invoke Blackfire Weapon. So that's pretty good. Bewitch, Charm, Enchant, Fascinate, Levitate, Raise. No. I do like Invoke. Yeah, let's go with that. Invoke Blackfire Weapon. Second. There's all my Twitch information there. Don't know why that fell off of my other display here, but I had that open on the side there. Cool. Let me make sure everything is going well here. Sure seems like it so far. Here, give me one quick second. Okay, okay. Well, I'll stop fiddling around with some of the behind the scenes stuff there, and just let's go ahead and keep things rolling on here. There we go. Brought it all back up. All right. So that is going to be the primary crux of our second level abilities here. So what we have next is going to be our fifth level abilities. So looks like we have an enchanted blackfire weapons here, so that's going to give us +1/+1, and an additional flourish. It is also going to give us we're also going to have some additional kind of counterattacks, some counter parry sort of stuff with our smoke bombs, and then a kind of baseline level of security. So let's go ahead and kind of start taking this one quick bit at here. So let's go ahead and just kind of copy the baseline information for a fifth level starting piece here. Boom. So enchanted blackfire summons. Fifth level mark of black ash. Actually, maybe we should just call this black flame. Mark of black flame. That sounds better. Because it's not really dealing with ash. Like, aside from like what might be burned here. So let's do a little bit of rebranding. Mark of black ash. There we go. To flame. Then mark of, well, that one just is completely wrong. And then so for our actual core rulebook document here, let's go ahead and there we go. Subtab change there. All right. I know that that's a rather minor thing, but once again, just a small little bonus there. Feels right there. Nope. Let me just go ahead and do a quick find and replace, make sure I haven't missed anything here. With the mark of black flame. Go and 104. Okay, that is pulling from another tab here. Perfect. Excellent. So we've got smoke bombs, we've got spark up the black fire. So enchanted blackfire summons. When you conjure a weapon out blackfire or attack with a conjured blackfire spark, you gain a +1 bonus to your attack rolls to your attack and damage rolls. There we go. That's the basics there. Additionally, these attacks gain the following additional. No, we don't need the word additional twice there on the same line. That's gross. Flourish. So let's go ahead, jump back to our weapon. Flourish is here so that we can have a template. That's Discord notes. So Flourish is here. Do we have something that blinds? Show it to me. That's equipment, armor and weapons here. I'm going to assume that that means no. So let's just go through our quick flourishes here. So we've got atrophy, can't defend against fortitude, concuss, can't defend against will, crush, can't defend. Oh no, sorry. Crush inflicts slowed, decelerate, can't defend against reflex. Disarmament, that's going to need to be updated there. But that is a disarm. Falter inflicts dazed. Grappling strike is grappling. Rend is dot hemorrhage. Thunder is just defend in general. That's kind of a stronger, rarer one. Tripping strike, knocked prone. And then the standard is wound. Okay, so so we are going to be blinding the target until the start of their next turn. So we'll go ahead and snag Crush as our baseline here. Additionally, these attacks gain the following flourish. It's not going to be Crush. So what do we call this? Speck of Black Ash. What's the fantasy here? So, Haunting of Darkness, Haunting of Ash, Haunting of Smoke. So the black fire blades, they do not emit light. They grant dark vision. They only burn creatures that are not their summoner. So we have let's call it Broken Sight, because it's going to break line of sight. It is also Spark of Broken Sight. There we go. That sounds rather dramatic there. Your attack inflicts the target with the blinded condition until the end of their next turn. A creature resistant to the blinded condition is not affected by this flourish. There we go. So that is going to be going to both the Spark from our Conjure and then also all of our weapons from Invoke. These attacks in the following flourish. Additionally, Blackfire weapons. No, hang on. While you are wielding a weapon conjured out of conjured from Blackfire, your melee range is increased by 5 feet. Hang on, while you're and weapon conjure. Hang on. Should this be while the calling card condition is on ourselves or on the? I think maybe while it's on ourselves. 5 feet if the what's the phrase here? If your momentum value is 10 or higher, and then if your momentum value is 10 and then we can copy that clause here at the bottom here about checking momentum value. When you reference, no, sorry, reduce the calling card on your character. If you do not have the calling card condition, your melee range is increased if the value of the nearest calling card is it is 10 or higher. There we go. So basically that, since the calling card condition is a sort of bimodal condition where it exists either on the player or on an opponent to give different effects, this way it will either trigger on the player if it's already on them as to increase their melee range, or to, against an opponent there. The way we do this is because there is the possibility of having multiple duelists in a party, and so there could be multiple calling cards on the field. But yeah. Okay, so there we go. We have Enchanted Blackfire Summon. Okay. So then we have our kind of quick dodge action here, where during an opportunity attack, because we have our smoke bombs here, and this is just a quick throw and get away. We also do have the whatchamacallit with the Duelist class here. The Duelist has an ability that gets better opportunity attacks. Where are you? Counterattack is an option there. Yeah, resolute opportunity attacks here. So this is basically just opening flourishes up to any part of. This comes online at 4th level. Okay, so what do we do here? So opportunity attack is us striking at a target when they hit us. So if we want this to be a sort of a parry and dodge situation, which is originally how it was envisioned at least. Maybe we do this when we take the defend action. So when we defend, we throw a smoke bomb, shift up to 10 feet. And then since it's a smoke bomb, it will leave the area slightly more obscured. And then we just move, then we shift up to 10 feet. Okay, so let's go ahead and copy just kind of the baseline text again here for a 5th level ability. Mark of Black Flame. Swap that out here. Because counterattack also uses armor points. Hang on. So maybe we have this trigger off of armor points. So at the end of, so we do our armor point reaction, and then at the end of the reaction, we throw a smoke bomb. It deals 1d4 fire or thunder damage, whichever one we choose, and then we shift 10 feet. A nimble. No, that's stupid. No, it's not stupid, but it's just not good. Vanish in a cloud of smoke. No, that's too wordy. How do we do this? How do we phrase this properly so that it is thematic? What smoke? Dispersing smoke, vanishing smoke. I know I'm getting hung up on the name here rather than the mechanic, but uh, Armor of Smoke. That'll work. I can live with that. Since we're using armor points. All right. Whenever you make a reaction, whenever you expend armor points as a part of a reaction, when the reaction is complete, you can immediately throw a smoke bomb. You can immediately create a cloud of smoke and ash. Create a minor explosion, distracting your foes and allowing for a quick escape. Explosion. Upon the completion of your reaction, you immediately deal 1d4 fire or thunder damage, your choice. Thunder damage to one creature within 5 feet of you. Shift to an unoccupied space that you can perceive and shift up to 10 feet to an unoccupied space that you can perceive. There we go. And then let's go ahead and grab the claws here from here. The space that you began the reaction. The space that you occupied before shifting as a result of this feature is obscured at level 1, or has its obscurity value increased by 1 to a maximum of 4 until the start of your next turn. Hell yeah. That is just a fun little smoke bomb. So, upon the completion of your reaction, you deal 1d4 fire or thunder damage. Your choice. No, it's going to be fire. It's got to be fire. Fire damage. Because this is the Blackfire subclass. This is all of my weapons are made of fire. You are creating a smoke bomb out of fire, throwing it down. It explodes. There's smoke everywhere. You use that distraction to shift 10 feet. You deal 1d4 fire damage to one creature within 5 feet of you, and shift up to 10 feet to an unoccupied space that you can perceive. The space that you occupied before shifting as a result of this feature is obscured at level 1 or has its obscurity value increased by 1 to a maximum of 4 until the start of your next turn. There we go. Armor of Smoke. Hell yeah. And so since this is skewing off of any time you use armor points for a reaction, that is going to be defend. That is going to be counterattack. That is going to be your opportunity attacks. Whenever you are reacting with your armor points, you can just throw a smoke bomb. Hell yes, I love it. Okay. I mean, this is a kind of more complicated subclass, so like, I like it. I'm here for it. This is great. So our next ability here is going to be at 7th level, and we get more enchantments to our Blackfire. Actually, maybe we can build into this. These attacks gain the following flourish. Yes. Okay. So how are we going to phrase this increases to +2/+2 at 7th level? Okay, so enchanted, yes. What would be better than enchanted? Ascended? Awakened. Ooh, awakened. I like that. Though that would imply that the Blackfire has consciousness. Rank, level. I mean, enchanted works well. what would be a good way to phrase this? Actually, you know what? We already went there once today. Let's go back to the thesaurus. Enchanted, delighted, or fascinated, for captivated. No, not quite. Charmed, magical, bewitched, ensorcelled. No. Referencing a mundane item that has become magical. All right. Reddit world building. Hell yeah. Magic for enchanting items. Runic. I mean, yes. Automating. Artifice. Rune inscription. Functional, no. Motivated, that's clever. Chanting, yes. Coding languages, this is interesting. Sympathetic magic. Okay. No, that okay. I don't think this is quite. I don't think that was quite what we're looking for. So enchanted synonyms. Oh. Yeah, sure. Let's check Merriam-Webster. As in charmed. To be under a magic spell. Yes. Charmed, magic, magical, cursed, possessed. Fairy. That. No. Bewitched, spellbound, entranced. I don't know. We could just call it heightened enchantments. Further enchanted? No, that's calling something an ability to just further. That's yeah. Okay, so we are looking for 5th level here. So let's go ahead and let's just go ahead and copy this feature. So this is going to be our 7th level one here. Enchanted Blackfire summons. We need a better name. To just reflect a higher progression tier. So one, this is going to be. Have I been saying 7th level the whole time? No, this is 8th level, because that's when archetypes kick on. 7th level would be a core class feature. Yeah. Man. So when you conjure a weapon out of Blackfire, or you gain a +2 bonus to your attack and damage rolls. The attack scheme flourish. That came off of the 5th level. So there we go. We don't need that. Additionally, while you're wielding a weapon conjured from Blackfire, when you hit a target, and when you hit a creature with a melee weapon attack, you can deal and you can deal fire damage amount of fire damage equal to your agility modifier to a creature within your melee range who is within 5 feet of your original target. Okay, so the way that this would work is it's going to be just you attack a creature and then the effects of your spell jump one more to another creature. Creature attack, you can deal an amount of fire damage equal to your agility modifier. To another creature within your melee range, within another creature. Yeah. Actually, yeah, we can just say to another creature within your melee range. Or to another creature within 5 feet of the creature targeted by your attack. With a melee weapon attack, you can deal an amount of fire damage equal to your agility modifier to another creature within 5 feet of the creature targeted by your attack. Right? That is the way to put it there. Hang on. Let's reference an SRD here. 5E 2024 SRD. There we go. Attack. Don't want to download it. I already have it downloaded. Oh, good, it's not. Okay. Fighter should have it all. Right. Okay, weapon mastery. Choose weapon mastery properties. 3. Fine. Okay, we'll go back to the weapons here. Oh, hey, weapon mastery properties. Is this SRD organized neatly? Let's see here. Okay, so I'm actually looking at cleave. My apologies. The 5e24 stuff is a little bit beyond what I usually think of when I think of 5e style design. If you hit a creature with a melee attack roll using this weapon, you can make a melee attack roll with the weapon against a second creature within 5 feet of the first that is also within your reach. Okay. That's a lot of word soup, but it's kind of useful. When you deal damage to a creature with a melee weapon attack, you can deal an amount of fire damage equal to this. To what? To what? A second creature to a second creature within 5 feet of the creature targeted by your attack. Creature with a melee weapon attack, you can deal an amount of fire damage equal to your original to a second creature. Do we say that this is an additional creature or a second creature? Because a melee weapon attack usually only targets one creature. Let's go ahead and say an additional. Though that's more just to kind of protect myself in case I design a weapon that has a melee weapon attack tag that targets a couple of creatures. An additional creature within 5 feet of the creature targeted. Okay, there we go. And so then we can just kind of get rid of everything up until whenever you deal damage. There we go. Perfect. Clean that up, nice and easy. Thank you, I guess, 2024 SRD for just walking me through wording something that sounds professional. So let's see what my notes here say we should do with this. So Blackfire weapons +2/+2. We get our additional weapon burst damage. All right. So the last thing I was thinking here was previously we adapted the idea of hellfire to our pyromancer sorcerer. And so the way that that works is while the creature has the damage over time incinerate condition on them, so while they are literally on fire, whenever we deal additional fire damage to them through a sorceress investiture or sorcerer special attack, they take additional fire damage. So part of my notes here is that we get an additional damage burst to our target creatures if they are obscured. Since this class deals a lot with the visual language of the game. So let's go ahead and jump, I believe, over to the sorcerer. I think we deployed this into the core document. So inheritance of the primordial flame is not there. All right, that's fine, I suppose. Let's go ahead and jump into our sorcerer update in our staging document. Sorcerer archetypes, there we go. Right, we did not deploy it into staging because we don't have the upgrade path outside of second level. That's, I suppose, fine. You know, why do we need the fire to jump? Maybe we just have the burst here, because it's already getting a damage bonus, being going from +1 to +2, which is nice. Deal fire damage to a creature that has the, let's just say, obscured condition. You deal an additional burst of fire damage equal to your might, your agility. What is the core? I mean, I believe the core attribute for the duelist is their agility. This is going to play so much more into special attacks there, but that's fine. That's why I can't remember it off the top of my head. Yeah, it's agility. Okay. So while you are wielding a weapon conjured from Blackfire, whenever you deal damage to a creature with is the burst going to be better than the jump? You know? Hang on. What if we let the player choose here? I mean, we're all about player choice. That is the core goal of the game, to make, to make things customizable. So what do we call this? Do we call this like a Blackfire rune, a Blackfire awakened sigil? Blackfire weapon sigils. And so that way we can enchant our weapons here. And so instead of just getting the standard +2/+2, we will get, I burst them, I nick another creature nearby them. I think that is a good path forward here. And then that also would solve our naming convention scheme here. Blackfire weapon sigil. No, hang on. We're just gonna leave it there. Additionally, I keep using that word here. You gain, when you invoke a Blackfire weapon, it is, you manifest a runic symbol of the dark flames along its edge. This sorceress, this what? No, whatever. This choose one of the following Blackfire sigils to enchant your weapon with. So sigil of the sigil of the long flame, of the leaping flame. Sigil of the ash, of the long blade, of the extending blade, the okay. The catching fire. It's not great, but we'll call it that. Then we have sigil of what? The consuming night. Consuming shadow. Consuming darkness. Sure. Once again, not the best name. It's a bit much. When you deal fire damage to a creature that has the obscured condition, you deal an additional burst of fire damage equal to your agility modifier. There we go. All right, so we have some sigils here. Let's see. Let's try and think of one more here. I mean, we could steal another sorcery fire here. So, what do we have so far in this subclass? We have smoke bombs. We let you, toss down a smoke bomb, shift a number of feet, and then, leave that space obscured until the start of your next turn. So just a puff of smoke and movement. We've got Spark the Black Fire. This is going to be our core ability here for conjuring just straight up. Actually, hang on. While we have this weapon in hand made of the Black Fire, we have Dark Vision to 60 feet. Dark Vision reduces the obscured condition by 2 steps. What if, instead of having Dark Vision, we give ourselves True Sight? True Sight would then reduce obscured by 3 steps and, reveal illusions. This is an 8th level ability. This is a sort of magical style of sigil. That works. We could also have it do true damage and ignore temporary hit points. I think that would be a good upgrade, since otherwise it's just one more level of whatchamacallit, obscurity, just distracting, being pulled off of it. So, consuming darkness, catching fire, of the true flame, sigil of the true flame. While you are wielding a black fire weapon, you gain true sight at a range of 60 feet instead of dark vision. Additionally, man, I keep using the word additionally. We need to find another word there. When you make a melee weapon attack using this weapon, actually Starfire here is literally the, well, we weren't meaning to LARP on the sorcerer here, but when you deal fire damage to an opponent, your damage ignores temporary hit points. When you make a melee weapon attack using this weapon, your damage, this, boom. So, Sigil of the True Flame. While you are wielding a black fire weapon, you gain true sight at a range of 60 feet instead of dark vision. When you make a melee weapon attack using this weapon, your damage ignores temporary hit points. This damage reduces the target creature's hit points and does not remove any temporary hit points the target creature has. There we go. Sigil of the True Flame. Let's go ahead and add in a clause here that lets us switch our sigil on an extended rest. So that way we do still have the option to customize and learn additional sigils. Let's see here. Which class lets us swap things on an extended rest? I believe that the Anointed has some features like that with our spells. Preparing and casting spells. You can change it when you complete an extended rest. There we go. Boom. You can change the sigil, the black fire sigil you manifest alongside your weapon, your invoked weapon, when you complete an extended rest. There we go. That's a sick ability. That's what we want to see. Maybe the names could be a bit better. Outside of Sigil of the True Flame, I do actually quite like that one. But yeah, that's a good subclass. I feel quite good about that. Let's get rid of the stuff that we had copied over as template material. Okay. Ascended. No. We're still gonna have to work on the names. The names are that is gonna eat me alive. I just know it. So let's go ahead and copy this subclass over into our core document here. And we'll also copy all of the comments because that does not transfer. Boom and boom. There we go. All right. So our first comment here is on smoke bombs. Just questioning whether or not we can find a better name for it. This is honestly the least quote-unquote problematic one. Just because it feels like a bit of a modern colloquialism rather than a bit more of a fantasy concept or construct. Okay, so unenchanted and enchanted here. I think that that is going to be the primary language for magical items. And so earlier in the stream, we were looking at how weapons have been handled in previous versions briefly. And so I just want to make sure that that is the same there. Better name for Armor of Smoke. Armor of Smoke is fine. We're not going to transfer that note over. But then the secondary here, yes, we will. Okay. There we go. Cool. So we've got 2 duelist subclasses basically fully deployed now as far as for the core rulebook. We'll need to fill out the tables and such, but I figure we're building towards a stream that's just going to be doing tables and filling out tedious work at some point. So that's going to be that. Let's see here. Let's see. So we've got 2 more duelist subclasses. We've got the Mark of Midnight Steel, which is honestly kinda a very basic fighter type subclass. That's probably not going to be too hard to do. Then we have Mark of the Inward Eye, which is this sort of investigator. Also seeing that I've been going here for 3 hours 18 minutes, which isn't bad. That's usually around what we try and hit for a stream. So here, give me 1 quick second. Thing is, I did promise my girlfriend a taco night tonight, and so I will need to run to the store to grab some beef and lettuce and tomatoes and such. I don't think we're going to be able to have enough time for me to knock out the Mark of Midnight Steel or Inward before then. But I will say I have Friday off of work, so I should be able, and I fixed my bot. Like, one of the reasons I was meaning to stream like 2 hours earlier today, so that, and we probably would have been able to get at least one, maybe even both of these subclasses done in this time before I had to jump off. But I was working with StreamerBot as far as kind of organization for management of Twitch and YouTube here, and I've got it working. I quite like how it works. Also with doing like webhooks for Discord and such. But at the same time, I was having a technical glitch where it just would not open, and that was driving me up a wall. And I did finally fix it by doing a bit of rolling back of into some of my backups there. So I think it might have just been some sort of code-based error. But nonetheless, I've got it working now, so I shouldn't have to spend like 2 hours debugging software before jumping on stream again. So that is a massive perk. So I think Mark of Midnight Steel, Mark of the Inward Eye, that is going to be something that we tackle on Friday. So then we can just have the Duelist class completely finished top to bottom. Well, not top to bottom, because we still need to work on special attacks. But we can have all of the class-based mechanics put together there. And we have now also introduced the new condition of Obscured. So this has been honestly a great stream. We've gotten a lot done. And thank you guys so much for watching. Thank you so much for tuning in. I will see you again on Friday, where we tackle the Mark of Midnight Steel and Mark of the Inward Eye. So please feel free to like, comment, subscribe, follow, all of the things on your platform of choice, and I will see you then. Thank you so much for watching. Take care, and I hope to see you then. See ya.